buy these cards now. What is going on, guys? Oh my god, this is me, Yasin, and I'm back with, honestly, I think this might very well be one of my favorite decks in the game right now. I know I keep saying this every single time there's like a new broken card that like heavily supports an archetype, but the thing is, Konami is just like spoiling us right now. So before this video starts, I want to actually thank Konami for giving us support that actually doesn't suck for once. It's crazy. It's a good change, honestly. I'm kind of tired of like seeing cards that read like pay 5,000 life points. Your opponent draws one card. No, I'm not trying to go neck 10. Yeah, before this video starts, make sure you like and subscribe. Check me out on Twitch and Instagram, and let's try to get this video to 1,000 likes. We can do it. I believe in you. And now let's jump right into it. So I'm playing 2 Parallel Exceed because it synergizes really well with basically everything. Like, everything is a Cyberse monster, so you can always turn everything into like Lingeribo, so you can start negating trap cards on your opponent's on your turn or on your opponent's turn. If you're actually summoning Lingeribo turn 1, what you can do is actually use it to negate your opponent's evenly matched. And by the way, Lingeribo negates and banish, which is so ridiculously good because if your opponent is playing Eldritch, your opponent's Scarlet and Conquistador, whatever, they will not hit the graveyard, so you can make your opponent lose even more resources with Lingeribo than with, let's say, Cyber Dragon Infinity. So that's it for this explanation, and Parallel Exceed is just a 1-card rank 4, basically. I'm a huge fan of this card. I think 2 is the perfect ratio, but like I said, if you, like I usually say in all of my deck profiles, if you think there's anything wrong with this deck profile, please let us all know in the comment section below. We can always learn from other people's experience. Anyways, triple circular with triple diameter, that's a no-brainer. This card is the new one, so it's a Magician's Souls, but a little better because it also searches, and it does everything on its own. It doesn't even rely on other stuff, just like Magician's Souls does. So yeah, sick card, circular for president, and then diameter is also ridiculously overpowered. It is a monster reborn on normal summon, so this is the normal summon of the deck, and it has another broken effect where one of your Synchro or Xyz summon monsters that was summoned using this card underneath will basically get the effect very temporarily, just the turn it was summoned, to negate absolutely anything your opponent does. Fun fact, it actually negates the effect, not the activation. So if your opponent has something like Shaddoll Fusion and you negate it, your opponent cannot use another Shaddoll Fusion that turn. This is completely different to cards like Cyber Dragon Infinity, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon that very specifically say that they negate the activation of a card. So sometimes you read cards and they say you can only activate this card once per turn, meaning that if you negate the activation, they can use another one. Whereas if a card says you can only use this card once per turn, regardless, whether you negate or not negate, they can never attempt to use another one. So very important thing that you do have to keep into consideration, don't get cheated. But yeah, I'm playing 2 Sigma. I am not a big fan of drawing this card because it is very easy to foolish with cards like Circular, and you're always recurring it back anyway, so I think 2 might be enough. And then 3 Subtraction, 3 Addition, they only summon themselves from the hand, so that's the reason why I'm playing them at 3, because drawing them is actually a good thing, unlike Sigma, which you're foolishing anyways. So that's it for the monsters. I don't think there is anything that will change here. Now for the hand trap lineup, it's definitely very flexible, so it really depends on the format, and by the time we actually get these cards in the TCG, the format will change so incredibly much that this might not be, well, this hand trap lineup might not be relevant anymore. But right now I decided to have something that is still very relevant for today's format, which would be 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm. You can also up Ogre to 3, but Ogre is once per turn, unlike Ash and Veiler. So drawing multiple copies of Effect Veiler and Imperm, sorry, Veiler and Imperm, yeah, I don't know if I said Ash and Veiler, whatever. Drawing multiple copies of these cards is actually a good thing, unlike Ghost Ogre, so that's the reason why it's a 2. Ghost Bell could actually be pretty good if you run into mirror matches, because it can negate cards like Super Factorial. And even DD Cruel could be relatively decent. So that is the thing that you might have to remember when we are going to be getting these cards. So that's it for the monsters. 24 monsters, very aggressive deck. If you're asking me the question, but Yasin, does it go first or second? The answer is, if I win the dice roll, I choose to go first. But if I lose the dice roll and have to go second, I'm not in a bad mood whatsoever, because this deck is ridiculously good going second. It's good going second against control decks because you have Lingeribo, which can negate trap cards, so that might force your opponent to preemptively use trap cards, because if he doesn't, then, oh, I have to flip my there can only be one after you summon your monsters. I'm just gonna go Lingeribo negate. It doesn't do anything whatsoever. So this deck is very well equipped to beat those control decks, and because of the hand traps, you will beat combo decks very, very well as well. and also playing triple tactic talents and other cards, so everything is free. Oh my, this deck is definitely tier 1 potential, and that's the reason why you have to buy these cards before they skyrocket. Anyways, one equation, this is a searchable monster reborn. I think playing more than one might be a little too much because it is a card that you can only activate once per turn, so one should probably be more than enough. Anyways, two, three tactic, I hate saying that, 2 triple tactic talents, whatever, you get the point. 3 Cyanide Mining. Cyanide Mining is overpowered in this deck. It is not like other decks where you just search and you kind of neg, because this time foolishing a monster, well, sending a monster from your hand to the grave is actually almost a good thing, because it means that your Diameter will already have food in the graveyard, so it can revive back a monster, so you don't really feel like you lost anything with that Cyanide Mining, and if that Diameter resolves, your opponent will not be able to Valor your Alimbertian, because the Diameter was used underneath, meaning that you can just negate a hand trap, and you can negate other stuff, and the Alimbertian searches the Circular, or the other way around. If you started with Circular, you can search Diameter, and Diameter is your normal summon. Again, Circular is a special summon, so everything just has a lot of synergy with each other. Moving forward, we have triple Cosmic Cyclone. This is good against both control and combo decks, because against control decks, it's obviously good against back rows, but against combo decks, you can also hit the Artifact Scythe, and if you're going first and you have this card, it's a little better than if you have stuff like Lightning Storm, which is very specifically just for going second, because you can set Cosmic Cyclone and hit cards like Fateful Adventure, which is the kind of card that you will be seeing pretty much played in every single aggressive combo decks that can play the Brave Token Engine. So Cosmic Cyclone is just very fantastic. Like I said, also hitting Artifact Scythe, absolutely huge. I love Cosmic Cyclone so much. I think it's practically just as good as a hand trap, really depending on the situation though. And I'm already playing enough hand traps, so I wanted a little bit more variety in my options, and I'm drawing a lot thanks to Deco Talk for Heat Soul. So, you know, might as well just draw cards that'll allow me to answer different kind of situations. Anyways, the Call by the Grave, because it's just a 1, you might as well play it. If the Call by the Grave was a 3, I wouldn't play triple tactical talents, and I would be playing 3 Call by the Grave. So these 2 cards are almost more copies of Call by the Grave, but this deck is inherently resilient. So if you are getting hand trapped on your own turn, not only will you still be able to at least get Super Factorial, but on top of that, you can punish your opponent, either draw 2 cards, steal a monster, or look at your opponent's hand and make him lose 1 card. So that is definitely something to take into consideration as well. Anyways, 2 Super Factorial. This card allows your grind game to be unfair because it has so much value just in 1 card. It's a Tri-Brigade Revolt, quite literally the best way to describe it. And it makes your opponent lose 3 cards instead of just 1. That would be the banish for the Sharaig, the Ominous Omen. So that's the reason why I actually think this card is better than Revolt. With that mentality, it wouldn't be super incorrect to say that you might actually want to play 3 copies of this card, just because if you get interrupted to death, you can still actually play the game very well. I just feel like it might actually be a little too bricky and make your going second a little bit worse. And by the way, one thing that you could definitely do is actually play Pot of Desires. I literally just thought of this on the spot, so yeah, I'm actually gonna add this card right now. It's just a one of, so that's the reason why maybe I actually kind of forgot about it. But Desires, with all these 3 ofs and cards that you don't really care that much about banishing, there's nothing wrong about, you know, a 1-of Pot of Desires, and you're never gonna be drawing Desires into double Desires, so if anything, that's actually a bonus, right? And by the way, the final card in my deck is MATHMECH Induction. It is a continuous trap card, but to be completely honest with you, it honestly feels like a normal trap card more often than not, because it reads all Cyber monsters, not Cyber Jesus, otherwise I would be playing this in Cyber Dragons. They gain 500 attack. If you control a MATHMECH monster, you can send this face-up card from the field to the grave, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect of MATHMECH Induction once per turn, so it is searchable, and it pops a card. So if you already have access to Super Factorial, you are searching this card, and you are destroying 1 card your opponent controls, as well as resolving the cracked effect of Laplacian, which makes your opponent lose 1 card from the hand, field, monsters, and spell and trap. So 2 cards from the field, 1 card from the hand. A lot of value just with 1 single card. Again, I just keep repeating myself, but it is absolutely true. So that's it for the main deck. Now for the extra deck, I'm playing 1 Magma, not Ligma, not this card. It's a level 12. It's a little hard to summon, but it's not really that hard because you can actually use this card, the multiplication, to make it to make 1 monster level 8. But it is a normal summon, and I don't think I want to make my deck worse, so I think just sticking to a rank 4 strategy, it might be a little better. Anyways, I'm playing the 1 Magma, which has a nice effect, like I said. So when you destroy a monster by battle, you can destroy 2 cards your opponent control, and if this card dies, you can search a MATHMECH spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So you can search the Super Factorial and just start all over. So very, very nice card. Now this card I love. Oh my god, Light Dragon Adignister. I want to say this card is literally just as good in this deck than it is in the actual Adignister deck, because you can still summon this when you are under the Cybers lock. That is something very important because the Sigma's Graveyard effect actually locks you under summoning Cybers monsters from the extra deck only. So that's the reason why we can't play a lot of non-Cybers monsters in our extra deck. I think the only exception would be Dweller. It's not a Cybers, but it's such a broken card that you kind of have to fit in a space for it. So I'm not really going to be explaining Dweller. But basically, Light Dragon Adignister, what it does is you can detach one material from this card. Jesus, you can detach one material, yeah. Destroy face-up monsters your opponent controls up to the number of Adignister monsters you control, including itself. And it has a secondary effect where it reads, when another Cybers monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon one Link monster from your grave. Again, very, very, very good. We appreciate both of these effects. And it has another neat effect where it reads, if a monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can detach one material from this card instead. So literally all three effects are super relevant. But yeah, sick card. And then we got the 3 Alambertian. Now, to be completely fair, you are probably never going to be summoning this card with 3 monsters, only really with 2 monsters. It has a lot of nice effects, but the main good effect that you're using would be the one to only detach 2 cards to search a MATHMECH card from your deck to your hand, because it searches a MATHMECH card and not just a MATHMECH monster. So you either search for Diameter when you don't have it, or the Super Factorial when you really want to stop your opponent from playing completely. So very nice card. And the Laplacian is basically the boss monster. I actually think this card is better than Final Sigma. Even though Final Sigma is a Towers monster that you can summon easily, it only has 3,000 attacks. So there are a lot of monsters that I can think of that can just jump over 3,000 monster beat sticks at the speed of light, and that's the reason why I don't think that turboing Final Sigma turn 1 really makes that much sense. I'd rather search trap cards and stop my opponent on my opponent's turn with cards that can actually use and not really lose to like Dark Ruler, because this is a trap card and it happens while my opponent is playing. So a little more flexibility here. So that's it for the Xyz and whatever. Now for the links, access code, transcode, decode Talker Heat Soul, 3 Code Talker monsters, them, update Jammer, Splash Mage, Lingaribo, and Salamander Elmirage. Elmirage is actually interesting because you can turn your hand traps into Elmirage, which is a Cyber, so not only can you actually use this to like make other Link monsters, but also you can trigger your Pelelic Exceed from your hand. So sometimes you brick like crazy and you still get to play the game because of how ridiculously consistent and how many options you have in this deck. So that's it for the extra deck, and now for the idea section. I'm considering playing the Kaiju because it is just really good against pretty much everyone, almost. Depends. Actually, against combo decks, it's pretty good. You could also play Lava Golem because the normal summon isn't that important. Again, only Diameter is a normal summon, so you're fine if you don't have it. And these 2 cards, I wouldn't play them. So Nabla and Multiplication, these are the 2 other MATHMECH monsters that exist, but I'm willingly choosing just not to play them because they take up your normal summon. They're not actual extenders, and what they do just isn't unfair. Like, you can kill even without them, so they're just like extra fluff that whatever, you really don't need. And Final Sigma, like I said, I don't think this is like the most competitive way to play this deck. And Baguska, Exciton Knight, very hard to summon. Even Dweller is hard to summon because you're usually locked under Cybers only, but whatever. More Cybers monsters that you can actually summon. So Topologic Bomber Dragon, Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax that you can summon on your opponent's turn using the Masquerena. So you can make this card indestructible by card effect, and it's also untargetable by card effect. And it's very hard to jump over it by battle because it gains attack when it battles a special summon monster. So yeah, just good luck getting out of this, getting rid of this. And even if it gets sent to the graveyard by opponent's card, even including it getting Kaiju'd, it shuffles back a card your opponent controls without targeting. Huge pain to get rid of, and the other cards would be Cybers Wicked, IP Masquerena, like I said, Link Spider, not really relevant, honestly, Link Disciple, and Link Devotee. This is a completely different build of MATHMECH that I don't even know if I really recommend that much. I think this deck is just good enough as it is. Yeah, that's it for this deck profile. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this deck list in the comment section below, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, let's try to get this video to 1,000 likes, because I will be making a live stream on this deck as soon as we get as many likes as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.